All right, coach, whenever you're ready.
All right, thanks, man. Tell the truth Monday. And when we met with the team today, I said the truth is collectively, we learned that we're never out of the fight. There were some crazy highs and crazy lows. We also learned, man, we got a lot to improve upon as we're going through it. So I loved seeing our tackling margin. I thought, defensively, we cleaned some of that up. Thought the guys did a good job breaking some. I was certainly pleased with the coverage units. I thought these guys really covered and allowed Luke to knock out a few. But the turnover margin, that's the one that made my stomach hurt. To win with that kind of differential is hard. So a lot to level up on, but always good to get going with the guys and set the course for this week. So get rocking with you guys.
Go ahead, Con.
Dan, can you give us an update on Marshawn Lattimore?
Sure. So I think honestly, John, I'll probably have a better indicator for as we get into Thursday and Friday on some of the guys. So what we're going to do with the team is we're going to switch Wednesday and Tuesday, and so we're going to do tomorrow as our first install day, and that's going to be a jog through portion, and then we'll get back to full speed on Thursday. So basically, we're just going to flip Tuesday and Wednesday. So tomorrow won't be a full speed work. So Wiley and Marshawn would be two that I'll have a better sense for as we work through some more of the week, especially after Thursday and into Friday, John.
And then one of the things I want to ask you about the 4th and 11, the decision to go for it on 4th and 11. What went into that, and what does that say about your confidence in either the making or whatever? What went into that decision?
I'll say a lot, but the first part is you're going back even to the week prior, John, to with Pittsburgh, and so it's been a part of their running game that's hard. It makes it difficult to get possessions to go, and so it's not one that you want to going in, but going into some spots where, man, we got to stay into this thing and not get into where you don't get enough cracks back at it. That's the part that I thought it's worth the risk in that one. Numbers wise, would say you're pretty bold into that spot, but honestly, it came down to their history in 4 minute. That's usually like a good Friday study of what it looks like at the end of the game, and it's been part of why Saquon's had the big average in the second half, and John, we were actually a part of that, in our game at Philadelphia. So that definitely influenced my decision. But I also have a lot of confidence too, so I wouldn't have done it blindly, but it's not one that you want to be in for sure.
Nikki.
I did. Just thinking back to week one, I mean, it feels like for us, Jaden has always seemed pretty advanced, but from what you've seen from him from week one to now, how has he really progressed and developed just in his decision making and knowing what he's saying on the field?
Yeah, and that's the fun part where you're seeing guys improve upon it. He's always had in the big moments, Nikki, like a not a flair for it, but a confidence into that spot. And that I learned early. And so some of the things that, he's improving upon don't necessarily show up all the time on the stat sheet, but I thought feet underneath him, a platform to throw from. I thought the last throw that he ripped to Jameson, that might have been one of the best ones. He set his feet and absolutely ripped it. So the moments are strong. He's confident into those. And there's certain plays, obviously, now that we're much further along, that he feels more comfortable than others. But I would say in these big moments, that's when he does seem the strongest, Nikki.
And there was a 4th and 4 on that drive that led to Terry's touchdown. And he scrambled, picked up 5 yards, kept the drive alive. I'm just curious what your thoughts were on that run. I mean, to me, it seemed pivotal, if less heralded than some of the others he's had.
Yep.
But
It was definitely a explicitive, and I saw that to go. But the we knew going into this game, honestly, Nikki, both teams were good on fourth down. And so I was honestly pleased to see, defensively third down. We actually lost some of the fourth downs, but we thought both teams are bold enough and they're good enough to go on fourth down. So that part we were kind of prepared for going in to say, hey, these are looks we want to get. Sometimes it changes on fourth downs where people become more aggressive or, can play it differently. But we went in with a little bit of extra work going in this week, knowing that we'd have to play some fourth down. So we did a little competition during the week, offense against defense into that same spot. And so that's how we thought we would get better, honestly, to see Marshawn and Terry battling just as good on good as much as we can get, knowing that ahead these fourth down opportunities would be there. So when he can remain a passer, guys stay in coverage, and then now there's more space with eyes down the field, that's what makes it most difficult.
Ben,
Hey Dan, just curious what you thought of Marshawn's play yesterday. Obviously going up against AJ Brown a lot, and then those pass interference calls. What you kind of thought of those?
Yeah, I was surprised on one of them, Ben, and maybe it might have been the first one that was down the field, and I thought the referees did a good job of letting the guys play, but I thought on that particular one there might have been a little bit more grabbing than normal. But on the judgment calls, those happen, the ones that, could go either way. That's playing ball and going for it. Obviously, you don't like to have three in a game, but there was also a number of plays that I thought really battled and played well. I thought might have even been the first series, Ben, where there was a big, PBU right off the bat. So I felt his presence, because in the last game it was quieter in a very different way. So that way and this way, he is a real competitor. That's what I probably feel the most, Ben. He has a real edge about him, a strength about him, and he really fits in well to how we want to play. So I was pretty pumped to see him.
And then Luke McCaffrey had a really good day on the returns, getting you guys good field position, including on the last drive. Just your thoughts on him in that role and how he's developed.
Yeah, because with Eck, he had really kind of established in this new returning game the speed for it, right? Because it is different and it sets up more like a running back. And so I thought maybe some of Luke's background with his hand, and playing quarterback and seeing stuff to go hit it. It's a factor with that, Ben. He's also a good screen runner. It's why we've worked Diami some back there, OZ back there. I think you have to be able to kick through a couple of blocks because almost everybody's singled up. So if one coverage player beats somebody, like you have to almost be able to break a tackle and have that kind of strength to do that. And so he does. So it kind of goes both ways where I thought some of the, on the blocking side, owning some leverage, it's a hard block, but I think Luke's got the type of skills to step through and kick through a couple of those tackles, which are hard. I really thought this would be a matchup, and you see where the speed shows up. I thought Tyler Owens on our side was one. He makes it so difficult, Ben, in space because of his speed. He can work across somebody, and so we're still learning as we're going through this new kickoff and kickoff return. But I thought Luke had a good, good 2 games of it so far.
David Aldridge.
Hey, Dan, wonder how you have learned to separate process from result, because process yesterday wasn't probably what you wanted across the board, but the result
Correct.
was good. You could have easily beaten Dallas if you make an extra point. You probably should have lost to Chicago, but you didn't.
Yep.
Like, how do you keep separating that? How have you learned to separate that over the years?
If I push what I'm looking to see improve, David, that's usually where I'm going for. Most often, and we all know this, like you get what you emphasize. It was so unusual, like to see we spend some extra time on tackling. We, did that better. We've spent a lot of time on the game management and the 2-minute and those spaces, and I feel that's one of the spaces that we do. So if I chase the improvement, that helps me on process. And there's plenty of games where it hasn't been what, we've wanted. And so I'm able to continue to shine a light on something that even though we had one, we still have more to do in this particular area. For instance, like the ball for us, going into the game, I think we were at a +5 turnover margin. They were at +3. So we had done a nice job with that. And so to come out and lose our mind on the football, that was, not a good process for us. So back to it for, bigger emphasis, bigger space to go. But I do try to stay consistent, Dave, into those spots to, chase the improvement. And if we can keep doing that, I feel like there's less roller coasters. And as the season goes along and it gets a little bigger, the roller coasters seem to get a little taller.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that I keep the team from riding the big ones, man, and, keep chasing what we have to get better at.
Does it change as you get closer to a big goal?
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
And we're a much better team than we were, 2 or 3 months ago. So I don't forget that, but I try to illustrate on Saturday mornings, usually with practice film. Sometimes it comes into the game film. This is what player X was working on. We showed it, last week in practice. This is what we saw in the game. And so I try to push forward what we're seeing because everybody has to level up. And so collectively, that's how we'll bridge the gaps that we need. And like a game like yesterday, there was a lot of trust that took place. I was pleased to see the sideline not get pissed, for a turnover or a, 68-yard touchdown run. The defense had kind of went out and said, all right, let's go get the ball back. The offense went out and said, let's go answer. And so I thought that was a good sign, David, that we didn't ride it yesterday. As horrible as it started, we didn't ride it. And so I thought that's a good step. So I acknowledge that, knowing that there's been some games that I felt like this, and you've heard me talk about that. So to see us knowing that it was still early, I thought we took a step in the right direction from a collective mindset, even though I hated the results in the first quarter.
Natalie.
Hey Dan,
Hi, Natalie.
how's it going? Well, I guess as a group, they have been extremely good at policing each other, I think, not looking too far ahead, not thinking about playoffs and staying focused during this holiday season, especially now. One, why do you think that's been the case? And two, as a head coach, how do you ensure that continues to be the case as we get into this playoff season?
Yep, and I know that I don't have my head in the sand, but I do really stay true to the process with the players. And I promise you, all the things that are going on through my head, the what ifs aren't part of it. I just don't see the benefit in that for us. We've got a lot of stuff to improve upon. So if I can stay our chasing of constant improvement, Natalie, that's where we're at. And so for us, we kind of talk about when we came back from the bye, we were at a base camp and we're trying to get to a next spot, a new next spot. And so that's what Atlanta is in 6 days. And so we know we've got a lot to improve upon. And so we just dig in on that. And that way we don't have to get caught up in the what ifs. But I recognize it's a conversation outside the building, so I don't ignore it. But the process of the week does handle a lot of the external things to make sure we bring the focus back to it. If I don't like the focus that I see, I'm not somebody that is prone to look the other way about it. I'd rather address it and say it. And that way, we can bring it back to focus really quick.
Yeah, so I guess based on that, how did you attack the turnovers yesterday when you did have a chance to speak with this group? Because I think we can all agree it was pretty uncharacteristic of this group. They've been able to protect the ball pretty much very well all season.
Yes. And so in the game, I said, man, we're still in the first quarter felt like it was 3 hours long. I swear. I looked up and I said, man, we're just starting the second quarter and we were way behind. But I said, just hang in, stay in the process of what we do and how to do it. As we got into the one today, we talk about ball security, decision making, and those are the techniques that we talk about.
Donna.
Hey, Coach.
Hi, Donna.
Hi. Bobby Wagner talked about yesterday about the improvement on the gap, basically in the second half more so than the first. What did you see there in the first half and what they were able to clean up in the second half as far as the gap?
Yes. And so it was a huge difference on the touchdown run, the long one I'm talking about. They had some good angles on us, and we really, we call it misfitting a run, when there's pullers and how to go attack them. But to have that kind of one untouched, that's one that, obviously as a coach, you're pissed and want to get it corrected quickly. But I thought they came back, they settled down. We did a much better job in the second half of hitting our fits in the run game. And I thought we tackled well. There wasn't just a one-man tackle, when the second and the third guy came. So I thought in that second half, I saw a lot of burgundy flying. And I thought Joe and the guys did a good job of adjusting. We pressured quite a bit, but we thought that was important. This is a really well thought out, experienced run game. And so that was some of those decisions that we were referring to earlier about going for it. Like, I know what they're capable of in the run game, and they've got an excellent offensive line. But I thought more than anything, I felt the effort, the tackling, the finishing really ramped up the longer the game went. And we had made a big deal about that, Donna, because they had been so strong in the second halves of their season so far. So we did spend a lot of time on it, but I was surprised to see us, get one out early on us.
And what was it like for you? I talked to the players yesterday about what was it like for them, how much fun a game of that magnitude was. What was it like for you when the game was going backwards and forwards and you're trying to keep everybody settled, on the sideline? But what was it like for you as you're navigating through everything?
The first part, I was glad that we didn't hit this lull, when we were way behind. So I felt some other games where we were ups and downs. So they stayed really consistent, even though the beginning, was a terrible start. What I loved about getting back in the fight, man, you could just feel this energy start to build. I loved the last part after we had the ball, we had timeouts, to be able to go down the field. We knew every down was, 4-down territory, for us to have a chance to go win it. And so after we got the first down, the play that we ran that Jamison scored on, we actually ran the play on Friday and Jamison caught it. And it was just, sometimes it's the craziest way how that happens, like that you work on something and it just all of a sudden, it's been thrown to Zach the same route a number of times in practice. And so on that particular day, Friday, it went to Jamison, and it just makes me feel good to know that, like, keep putting the work in, because eventually you'll see the look, you'll see the one to go. And we practice a lot and we don't play as often. So those practice moments are really important, because when the time comes to go nail it, you can. And I thought that was a good example of that. So I was pumped for the guys. I kind of usually think about what's next. Okay. After we score, we're going for two. After we get the two, then we're going to, kick instead of, try to kick it out. I wanted to use the 6 seconds. So more often, to answer your question, I try to stay what's next, so I can give the information quickly to what we're going to do. So nobody's, you want to go for two, like it's already established. Hey, after we score, we're going to go for two. And so it's just, I try to stay not ahead of the chains, but ahead of the call.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll finish with Candy and David Harrison.
And Charlie, can I get, is one or two? Just one?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Coach. Brian Robinson Jr. Yesterday had, not his best day, right? So we know what high standards he has for himself in his play. So what are conversations like with him to just kind of get past it, but also that corrective measures there for him?
Yeah, you just nailed it. How do you clear it? Because you do have to acknowledge it. You're mad, you're pissed, and so you do have to. It's not like you say, don't worry about it. That usually makes you more mad. When, I don't know how you feel, but that's, hey, don't worry about it. Well, like, hey, it's a big deal. Like, I am going to worry about it. And so how do you acknowledge it? Take it in. Why did it happen? I didn't lock my elbow down. I was, didn't clasp it on the way down. So as long as you can come to, where the mistake occurred, that to me makes it, easier, because then I know what the correction can be. And so on the sideline, he was strong mentally. Won't happen, so he was, ready to, obviously he was still playing as the game was going. So it wasn't like, we were taking him out and he wasn't going back in. He was clear-headed about what to do and how to take care of it. So he was mad, but I thought he did allow it to go and get on to the next one.
And now 2 weeks in a row, the defense has had to adjust to two different quarterbacks in games. So what are your thoughts on just how, Coach Joe Witt Jr. and the defense overall has responded to that?
Yeah, I thought Joe is really hitting his stride on a number of spots, because it does change things. And as you're going through it, it is part of the game of what things will stay the same, what things could be different, when there's a new running back or quarterback or tight end, whatever it looks like. And quarterback especially, they're so unique in how they play. So I was impressed by Pickett, honestly. I thought he threw the ball with good accuracy to the right spots. He's a nice athlete to move. So I could see why they would want him into that system. I thought he got outside and had good scramble ability. Wasn't surprised they didn't run the sneaks, to go through that. So those are things that come up that, hey, maybe that part of the game plan's not the same.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, good afternoon, Coach.
Hi, Dave.
I think yesterday was probably the most amount of chippiness we saw, like post play activity happening between both sides. Obviously, you've got a lot of veteran leaders on the field that can police up, their teammates and themselves. But where is that line for you? Not saying they crossed it yesterday, but where would that line for you be to where you kind of need to take control of the emotions of a game like that?
Yeah, we knew poise was going to have to be a part of this game, Dave. We actually talked about it. And we got one rule here, man, that's protect the team. And so there can never be a spot where you go past that. You're always going to protect our players, but you don't want to go past the line where you could hurt the team. And so that's where we draw the line. We talked to the lead sled dog guys. Hey, man, this is going to take some poise. You're going to have to look into the face of temptation some, knowing that it would be heated. And I thought our guys did a good job with that. I really did. I thought that was going to be one of the parts of this game of keeping our poise all the way through. And that certainly proved to be evident, as the game goes on. It's two competitive teams battling for it, but I thought our guys did a good job keeping it together.
And then kind of building on Candy's question about B-Rob, like not just Brian, but just overall the running game outside of Jade in the last couple of weeks, sub 4 yards per carry averages. How is there a certain level of concern internally about your run game, or do you chalk a little bit of that up to, the other side obviously plays good defense?
There's always, two sides to the pancake. And I think going in, we were certainly pleased, David, against Tennessee would probably have been one of the better run fronts that we had played against. So to miss on some opportunities, yeah, we're bummed. No question about it, man. Over the last 2 weeks, it's really important to us. We knew, from Philadelphia, there might be some runs that were not there to allow some play passes to go to get extended that way. But it is, one of the areas that we got to dig in hard on. As we said, when we get to the truth, what's the ones to improve upon? Going into it, that's one of our areas for sure.
All right.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks,
All
Coach.
right. Thank you, guys. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.